on the first day of the new teacher's class, but found that the students didn't even have the most basic textbooks. Where's your book? What book? Who is the monitor? Tell me, you don't bring books to school. What are you studying? No books. How do you take classes? Teacher Zhang wrote the text on the blackboard. Later, Teacher Li copied the text on the blackboard. Copy as much as you hand in. We copied them in notebooks. What about the books provided by the school? They haven't been distributed. The officials didn't print them, but students didn't get them. This study of things is not a joke. When I was in school, what was the first thing on the first day of school? Was to get books. I peeled off the book cover. I carried them to school every day. What class did I have? I would take out the corresponding book. Seeing the students in the audience unmoved, Lo Gong felt mixed emotions. So he hurried to the principal to inquire about the situation. But the principal said that due to lack of paper, books have never been distributed over the years. Lao Gan picked up the thick promotional materials. He just smiled slightly, and then returned to the classroom. Then on the blackboard, he copied the contents of the textbook word by word. The students in the audience were writing furiously in their notebooks. But before that, Lao Gan had never taught before. As an educated youth who had been in the countryside for 7 years, who only attended high school for 1 year, he was suddenly assigned to teach. After his friends learned about this, were happy for him. After a while, they took out some food that they usually didn't dare to eat. To see him off, they put the washed rice into bamboo tubes, and then put them in the firewood pile to bake. In that special era, this meal was particularly rich for them. Moved, Logan, he said his true feelings. I'll go to teach. But I have suffered with everyone. I want to forget my friends. When you have babies, they will learn to read in my hands. I won't let down the children of everyone. Early in the morning, his friend Lao Hei accompanied him to the school. They crossed the mountains with morning fog, and crossed the cut-down woods, along a small dirt road, and finally arrived at the school. When the students learned that a new teacher was coming, they were curious, and they all looked around at the door of the office. Then the principal took him to the dormitory. The facilities in the room were simple. There was only a stool and a table, plus a wooden bed. After a long journey, were already exhausted. Just as they wanted to sit down and rest, a leg was broken. This scene made Lao Hei laugh heartily. But the table under his butt was already in tatters, and it fell apart in a short time. But luckily, the boss's bed was strong enough. Before class, the boss went to the office to get the textbooks, but the principal only gave him a tattered textbook. Teacher Li didn't pay much attention when he left. But it's not easy if he doesn't get the textbook. So don't lose it. It's hard to find if you lose it. The principal took him to the classroom door. Due to the absence of a teacher, the students' noisy voices resounded throughout the sky. Fortunately, the principal went in and introduced the boss. Today, I'm honored. The teacher told them that there would be no good ending. Today, there is a new teacher to teach you. Everyone pay attention. When the students saw the old man coming in, they immediately stood up. Although the children are naughty, they knew the importance of respecting teachers. The boss wiped away the abstract paintings drawn by students, and then wrote the contents of the textbook on it. He randomly called a student to ask what was being taught, but the student directly said he couldn't understand. The teacher was very puzzled. After all, the content of the text is too simple, so he explained it to the students. But at this time, a student named Wang Fu raised his objection. You are not a good teacher. Just teach what you should teach. Then teaching division. Then divide. Then teach the theme. Teaching writing methods. I can teach them all. You must not be good at working in the team, and come here to eat for free. Wang Fu thought the teacher would criticize him, so he stood up voluntarily. But Logan was not angry. He had never taught before. After this incident, Logan decided teaching in his own unique way. And he stipulated that there was no need to stand up, and don't put your hands behind your back when listening, and allowed students to speak, but only on the premise of communication and learning. He also confessed everything to the students, saying that he knew many characters, but he had never taught before, and didn't know what to teach them. After that, he asked Wang Fu to mark the words he didn't know. With the boss's encouragement, students crowded around and wrote down, drew the words they had never seen before. At this moment, Logan found more than half of these characters can be learned in primary school, and understood why the students couldn't understand the articles before. Wang Fu said at this time he could prove that he had never learned these characters. In order not to waste everyone's time, he still explained them one by one. After school, Lao Gan stopped Wang Fu because he was curious how Wang Fu could prove that he had never learned those words. Seeing this, he quickly took out his notebook, which recorded all the words he had learned. A total of 3,808. In order to teach students well, Lao Gan returned to the team and prepared to borrow a dictionary from Lai Di. But Lai Di had a condition, that he should be a music teacher in the school. Leo Deng quickly said he couldn't make the decision, and Lai Di knew it very well. So she discussed with the boss, let him write lyrics and compose music, and let her students sing her songs, because the leader would definitely ask when he heard it. And he would come naturally, and asked him to be a music teacher. When night fell, the boss set off for the school. In the quiet mountains, it looked particularly desolate. Any slightest movement could alert him. But at this moment, Lai Di caught up with him, because he was still thinking about being a music teacher. Before they parted, Lai Di gave the dictionary to Lagwan. The next day in class, Lai Di decided to temporarily abandon the textbook, but to cultivate students' writing ability first, to learn more characters, because this can lay a foundation for students. Okay, now, I will read two compositions by my classmates. Today's topic is going to school. The first one is as follows. I go to school. to the classroom. I go to school. A few words that can be counted on one's fingers, which made the students laugh. But the boss was not angry, but gave him affirmation. At least he wrote the word zoo. I understood that. He didn't run here, or flew here, or carried by someone, but walked here by himself. Teacher, it's too short. It's okay if it's short. He'll write more slowly and clearly. Then he read Wang Fu's composition. The topic is going to school. I don't have a watch. I got up. I put on my clothes. I washed my face and went to the kitchen for food. I ate. I washed the dishes. I took my school bag. I don't have a watch. How long did I walk? I went to school with fog on the mountains. I sat down and had class. After the teacher finished reading, he gave me a very high recognition, although I wrote a lot of words. But it was written very well, because the handwriting is clear and there are no typos, and it has content. The teacher then assigned the students a composition requirement. They wrote the titles themselves, although there is no word limit, but they must write it honestly. The next day, the school assigned a labor assignment, because the old school building needs to be renovated. The class where the boss was in had to cut 230 bamboos. At this time, Wang Fu raised his own question. According to the previous practice, students were required to write an essay. Work is work. Don't think about anything that can't be done. It must be done. Not only did Teacher Li do so, and there is no restriction on the topic. Finish it today. Oh, it must be copied. Wang Fu was unconvinced after hearing that. He made a bet with the boss. As long as the topic is set, he could finish it today. And he guaranteed not to copy. If he won, he would ask the boss to give him the dictionary. After hearing that, he gave the dictionary to the monitor and promised that whoever won, the dictionary would belong to him. The next morning, Wang Fu brought Lao Gan and his classmates to the mountain. He and his father went into the mountains to cut wood. He had already written the composition before midnight. According to the agreement, Wang Fu won the dictionary. But at this time, Lao Gan stopped Wang Fu. I gave you the dictionary. It's not you, as we agreed. You wrote it yesterday, and I wrote it today. Although your composition was written yesterday. But the labor was also yesterday. Recording an event is always after the fact. This principle is impossible. Although Lao Gan offered to give him the dictionary, Wang Fu, who had realized that he had lost, didn't want it, but chose to copy it down word by himself. On this day, Lao Gan's friends passed by the school, and the long-separated friends hugged each other. They came to the classroom where Lao Gan taught, and asked Lao Gan to teach them a lesson. Who calls stand up? I'll stand up. Don't make trouble. Everyone put your hands behind your backs. There's no good end to messing around. Class begins now. Today's class is very important. I'll read the text to you first. Once upon a time, there is a temple, and an old monk told stories. What did he tell? Once upon a time, in the mountain, there is a temple. No, an old monk telling stories. What did he tell? Once upon a time, in the mountain, there is a temple, and an old monk told stories. The students in the next class saw this scene, also started to read along, even on the way home from school. They kept repeating it. The next day in class, the teacher asked the students to write about a familiar person. Although the topic seemed simple, but it was extremely difficult to write well. At this time, the principal asked the old monk to come to his office. It turned out that teaching without following the rules was discovered. So he sent an idle staff to investigate the situation, and he confessed that the content in the textbook was useless. Obviously, such an answer also ended his teaching career. When he returned to the classroom, the students' finished compositions were already on the table. This scene moved Lao Gan extremely. Then, he asked Wang Fu to read his own composition. My father is the strongest man in the world. He carried sacks in the team. No one can beat him. My father is the one who eats the most in the world. My mother makes sure he eats enough at home. That's right, because my father has to work. And he earns money to support the family every month. But my father said my strength is not as great as Wang Fu. Because Wang Fu can read. My father is a man who can't speak. But I understand what he means. So I have to study hard. And speak for him. My father is very hard. He was sick today. Later, he slowly got up. And still went to work. He doesn't want to lose a day's money. I want to go to school. But I can't replace him now. The white sun rose in the morning. My father was walking on the mountain. And walked into the white sun. I thought my father was strong. Seeing the obvious improvement in the students' compositions, Lao Gan was very pleased. With the bell ringing, Lao Gan's last moment came to an end. As the sun sets, Lao Gan handed over the songs he wrote too, and the students fulfilled their promise to him. Then he found the principal, and asked to take away the students' compositions. The principal agreed helplessly after hearing it. You may write not to make trouble. No, right, yes. Before leaving school, Lao Gan left the dictionary to Wang Fu, and gave him a word, which said not to copy anything in the future, nor the dictionary. Perhaps these simple words will change Wang Fu's future life.